I was 29 when I started The League, and I had just ended a 5.5-year relationship, and I was looking for someone that wanted to be with an ambitious woman and wasn't scared of the fact that I was very career-driven. I worked a lot. I had big goals for myself, and I wanted someone that would support that, encourage that, embrace that about me. Hi, I'm Amanda Bradford. I'm founder and CEO of The League, and this is how I made my first million. I grew up in Silicon Valley, Austin, Texas, and North Carolina. So I moved around a lot as a kid. My dad worked for IBM, also known as I've been moved, so we moved around a lot. I was exposed to technology at a very young age. My first job after college was working for Salesforce.com, which was in the era of the cloud, where everything was going to the cloud, and Salesforce was the pioneer there, selling software that worked through the browser. So I got front row seats to kind of the whole software as a service industry. Mark Benioff was an amazing CEO. I learned a lot just watching how he operates his business, and from there, decided that I wanted to stay in technology and keep growing as an entrepreneur. I got my first big paycheck when I was a top performer at Salesforce, and I qualified to go to Sales Club, and I exceeded my quota by a lot, and that meant you got a really big bonus check for me at the time. It was really big. And that was when I first realized you could make a lot of money in sales, and also if you exceed your quota and start hitting accelerators, there's a reason why people stay in sales. And that was when I realized how profitable it can be to be good at sales and to know how to sell technology. I decided I wanted to start The League when I was in business school, and I was single, and I saw that the dating apps were taking off. A lot of people were starting to use them. Tinder revolution had happened, and people were starting to adopt dating apps. Before that, there was a stigma where you're only on dating sites if you can't get a date in real life, and so there was this whole shift that happened. And I was in the shift. I was single, so I dipped my toe in the water of dating sites, and I found myself frustrated with the fact that it was essentially a game of hot or not, and I felt like I wanted to know a lot more about a person than what they looked like. I mean, obviously we care about what people look like, but you want to also see other aspects of that person. And so I found myself trying to find them on other sites. I would go to LinkedIn, I would go to Twitter, I would go to Facebook, trying to kind of social media stalk, I guess, these people before you meet them in person. And so that was really the inspiration for The League, was you shouldn't have to do all this stuff. Let's just make people apply to join the community where it's an intentional community. People there are there for the right reasons. They're there for a relationship. You put in your LinkedIn profile as a means of admission, so you're gonna get to see what someone does in their career, their education background, what they studied in college. All of this stuff I thought was very interesting when you're evaluating prospective life partner. And I wanted this information to be really contextualized within the app instead of having to dig for it after the fact. So that was the inspiration, was really being a user and a frustrated user, and then building a product that I wanted to use. So I built The League for myself to essentially find my life partner. The League's algorithm works by matching you with people that fit your preferences and where you fit their preferences. And then within that, there's all sorts of sorting and filtering that we look at: your past voting behavior, what you've recently liked in the past, and who you're messaging, and we'll try to take that into account. We let the users tell us where they want us to match them. So if you want to just date in New York, you can do that. If you want to date in multiple cities at once, you can tell us that, and we'll show you prospects from multiple cities. So that's a big feature on the app. You can say if you're willing to relocate for love, where you might be willing to relocate to, and then we can show you people from anywhere in the world that's also willing to go there. I think I first started realizing that I could make a lot of money on this business when we started monetizing, and I started out at $20 a month because that's what everyone in Silicon Valley was doing at the time. That was kind of the standard model. And then I quickly did the math and realized that we would need a much bigger user base for me to actually make a big business off users paying, and $20 a month wasn't going to cut it. And so I changed the business model to start selling yearly memberships. I think $179 a year. And at that point, we started to see that the conversion rate actually didn't drop. People were okay paying that amount of money for dating. Then once we launched in New York and in Los Angeles, we had 3 cities live. We saw growth in all of those cities, and I started realizing that I don't actually need to fundraise anymore. I'm making enough money to cover the costs of the business. So quickly we became profitable, and at that point I was a majority owner of the business, and I realized that this profit that we were getting, I could put this profit anywhere. I could invest it back in the business. I could start paying my employees more. I could start paying myself more. At the time, I wasn't even paying myself. And so that's when I realized that this business has legs. There's actually a real unit economics that work, that makes sense here. People will pay for dating. And let's go launch in more cities and make it even more profitable and help more people find love than just in San Francisco, New York, and LA. I made my first $1 million selling my company, The League, to Match Group. I decided to sell to Match Group because I wanted The League to be bigger than I could take it myself. I had worked really hard for 9 years building it as big as I could, but I realized we needed significant financial investment if we wanted to compete with the big guys and go international. And for me, finding a partner like Match Group, who's done this before, who's launched brands internationally, and has taken a dating site from tens of millions of revenue to hundreds of millions of revenue, that was the partner I wanted. And that was the aspirations I had for The League, was to be a global premium brand. Prior to that, I had been able to pay myself well, but I had never had millions of dollars in my bank account. And the profit we were making from the company, even though we were making millions of dollars at the company, I was investing that back into the company. So it wasn't until I sold that I actually had the $1 million in my bank account. I splurged on a cool car, which was a 1974 fully restored Bronco. And it came straight from Michigan, lovingly restored by people who worked at the Ford factory. And its name is Bucky.